the subject of mansplaining. Some people hate this. Some people are really good at this. If there was a competition for being a great mansplainer, then they would pride themselves. But what is mansplaining really? Where does it really come from? What's the source of it? Now, I'm going to share something with you. This isn't excusing mansplaining, but I am a big believer of empathy and compassion being a deeper access point to human connection and intimacy. Mansplaining will generally come from two places, which generally has its source in one place. It will either come from arrogance or deep insecurity, which stems from low self-worth. The arrogant piece is needing to be right, needing to be seen, needing to be understood, needing to be accepted. This need for it because probably as a child, that man didn't really get it. So he's going to give his opinion and he's going to share his ideas whether he's asked for it or not. Yeah, basically the definition of mansplaining. Just explaining things, concepts, ideas, sharing one's vantage point and opinion in a forceful way when not really asked for it. Particularly when the individual or the individuals in the space, in the room, are far more qualified, way more qualified than you to be explaining anything. But let me go back to this insecurity piece, this low self-worth piece, this needing to prove oneself. I'm not asking you to feel sorry for or to carry sympathy, to see that man or that person as a victim because, oh, poor you, you're mansplaining because you feel insecure and weak in your own constitution, because you don't believe in yourself and you're masking your insecurities and your low self-esteem and low self-worth with trying to be smarter than what you are, trying to prove to all of us that you're intelligent or you have the answers. There's something beyond that, and it's not about the sympathy piece. It's about that individual not feeling enough. Maybe as a child they were abused. They were told and shown that they weren't enough. They were hurt as a child. Anything and everything they did in their mind, in their perception, just wasn't enough. And so they developed a coping strategy of being smart, being intelligent, being that person in the room that has all the answers, if they do or if they don't. Wanting to explain in greater detail, to demonstrate their awareness of a situation, to be super or hyper intelligent, because that's how they have proved their worth. Men need to be of utility. This is an evolutionary function of our nature or of our maleness, and it's also a cultural function that's compounded and developed over time to where we are today, that we need to be validated through our utility, through our functioning, through our usefulness in the world. And mansplaining can be connected to that. And yes, some people are just fucking arrogant. They think they know it all and they want to know it all, but where does that come from? It doesn't come from purposely wanting to hurt people. Sometimes there's a pathology there, or a psychopathy, or social pathology, or personality disorder, or whatever it may be. It could even be physical damage to the brain that's affecting the social functionality of that individual, sure. But when we peel it back for the majority of people, they're just in a lot of pain. And they aren't in contact with that pain. And so they're hiding from that pain by trying to be the best in the room, by constantly trying to know everything so that they're the go-to person. They carry a function, they carry a utility in the way they move through the world. And so whilst being on the receiving end of mansplaining, whether you're a man or a woman, whether you're a child, it doesn't matter who you are, being on the receiving end of that can be very frustrating because you're going to feel like your needs aren't being met. Like you're not being heard, you're not being listened to, you're not being seen. And so what can you do in those situations when you're being mansplained the fuck out of? What do? How do you see yourself? How do you see the world? Do you just sit there and take it and cower or say yes, 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 even though you know that could be quote unquote wrong or not accurate or just not even necessary? Or do you use that as an opportunity to look at your wounding or your patterns, the way you show up, and maybe to step into your power in a healthy, compassionate way? I'm not saying that it's your job or your role or you're the divine, that you need to point out these faults or these issues that this individual is facing because they are mansplaining the world away. But maybe you just get to stay in your power and express that you don't appreciate that. And you get to do that with compassion and love. The excessive mansplainer is insecure and in pain. They carry low self-esteem and low self-worth. If you're one of those people, practice being the person in the room that just maybe is a little more silent and observe and feel what's happening in your body. Are you really tensile, needing to speak your part or share your wisdom, your truth, whatever it may be? Is it giving you anxiousness? Like, is your heart rate accelerating? Are you starting to get the sweaty palms? Thinking, well, I could say this, or I could make this conversation even better, or I can add so much value. But what if your value was just listening, because that's what that person needed? They didn't need to be explained what they're doing wrong or what they could be doing better to make you feel better. And can you be with that discomfort in the physical body, in your mind racing? And can you breathe slowly and come back into the body and be mindful of your environment? Practice mindfulness to come back into the body, to be able to really deeply listen. Did someone ask you to explain the situation or their difficulty or their troubles? Or are they just wanting someone to listen to? Can you ask questions to clarify before you just go bleh and vomit your explanations and your reasons why they should be better or be doing something different, or how they could do it your way, which is better than their way? Can you address the insecurities and low self-worth that you carry because of the pain that you feel of not being enough, and that you project that pain outwards? That you protect your vulnerable heart and your aching, hurting heart by being the most intelligent person in the room, or attempting to be, and being maybe the loudest person in the room, and being the know-it-all in the room, to receive the respect that you deserve, but that you never really got. And now you're attempting to get it, or you are getting it in an unhealthy way. In a way that's actually pushing people away and isolating you from true intimacy. So mansplaining is less about having to be the best. Yeah, that's part of it. Having to be the know-it-all, having to have all the answers and the tools. But when we peel all of that back, there's usually a very hurt little boy in there that doesn't require sympathy, but requires safety and support, predominantly and primarily from self. It's got to be our responsibility. If we're that person that's mansplaining constantly or every now and then, it's our responsibility to heal that part of ourselves that is wounded and feels unsafe. And as an individual on the receiving end of that, is it maybe your responsibility to step into your power in a compassionate, empathetic way? And will that serve the situation and the dynamic? What can you learn from that? And how can you grow? Most of life is not what it seems. That prima facie association that we make, that surface level association that we make, it's useful from a survival perspective, but in complex social dynamics where we're learning about each other and others are illuminating the dark parts of us that we cannot see, it makes sense to just pause and ask a few more questions, learn a little deeper. Don't take for face value exactly what's happening. Oh, he's mansplaining, he's arrogant, he's in his ego. Yeah, and what is really happening underneath that? And why is it happening in your life for you? Power and blessings. I'll see you soon.